And if you thought NIL was messy in college football, buckle up because we are going to uncharted territory now. Saw this earlier today, and that is that let me make sure I get the language of this right. The Florida High School Athletic Association has approved NIL for high school players, meaning that we will be having high school players who earn more money than their high school coaches in this upcoming season. In fact, it's already at work. I've learned from On3 that top 100 recruit wide receivers Jamie French and Vernell Brown have already inked NIL deals with apparel company American Eagle. So they're already getting paid by those guys.
Bringing it back.
And this goes, to me, almost all the way back to like where we were with like Maurice Clarett way back in the day when he first started challenging the courts. His whole thing was, you can't tell me I can't go to the pros yet because you can't deny me the right to earn money if someone's willing to pay me that. That was his thing when he was leaving Ohio State after his freshman year, trying to go to the pros. And I think that high school kids earning NIL is going to be a disaster, especially for big programs. And you already have weird recruiting races and weird charter schools and private schools and all that going on. And now you're going to have kids before they've graduated high school chasing the bag. It feels really messy. At the same time, if there are companies who are willing to pay kids because they're good at football when they're in high school, who am I to tell those kids that they can't get paid off of that? So it's complicated for me, but I do think it sounds like an absolute mess.
What I think is, if someone is willing to pay you an amount of money to hawk their program, right? Like, hey, we want you to be our main guy. Like, we are American Eagle, and we're going to build on the next great Florida high school quarterback. Whatever they're willing to pay you, take that money. Yeah. That is yours.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them for that one bit.
If I'm American Eagle and I'm going to my boss, I don't know how I sit there and I say, hey, you see that 16-year-old over there? We are going to give him $50K to hawk our brand or to be a model for us or to do. It just doesn't make sense to me from the standpoint of the business. Like, you're American Eagle. You can get that same player more than likely later on. It might be a little bit more money, but if you wait until he's 20 or 19 and he's in college and he's actually performing at a high level, you're going to get a good return on that investment. Maybe I'm too old at the grand old age of 26, but there is not a single big name high school recruit right now that you could throw up on a picture and me go, yep, I know exactly who that is. Oh, he's wearing American Eagle. Can't wait to go buy me some. It's not happening. So it's not happening till you get more of a reach.
And I think that to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense from that standpoint. I really don't understand what American Eagle has to gain by putting these two random football players in their ads. I don't think they're suddenly selling more jeans or polos because of it.
No.
What would make more sense to me is if you found out that local high school star can promote his local car dealership. That at least it's like, okay, the quarterback kid down the street doing the local, like, that makes more sense to me than high school wide receiver meets national brand of a pair like that.
Right.
That one's a little bit lost on me. But I think what's going to be interesting to see as well is how much of a demand is there for it? Because right now you already have kids in college thinking, I should get paid. Well, and some of them, they're not bringing that much to the table, and they don't bring that much value for companies to get behind. And so there's going to be even fewer percentages of kids in high school who are like that. How many companies really want to back a high school kid or want a high school kid's image and likeness to support their business? I don't feel like that's a high demand, yet it also feels like this is going to be a problem.
Well, we've also seen it. We've seen them try to do this before, right? Like, we've seen QB1 Under the Lights. How long did that show go for? We've seen, the Last Chance U version. How well did that work for any of those guys? Did anyone come out of Last Chance U, aside from the one counselor, looking better than what they did beforehand?
No.
So there's another point of it where if I'm the high school kid, why do I even, I get it. They're throwing a lot of money at you. Maybe your family needs the money. But there also comes a point where it's like, Why do you want to be in stardom at 16?
Yeah.
You're going to do something stupid. Even if you are the smartest, most polished 16-year-old out there, you will do something stupid.
And now it feels weird because it feels like, at least in the state of Florida, you're going to be having these high school auctions for the best kids to create the best programs. And like, maybe that's what we're doing in college football already to a degree. But then the other part, Darren Heitner tweets, the worst part of this Florida high school NIL bylaw is that no agreement can extend beyond the athlete's high school athletic eligibility or graduation date. So if someone like Gatorade wants to sign a player of the year to a long-term contract, it would be a violation that could result in sanctions. I would think half of what made sense about this is maybe you get in early with an athlete who's destined for stardom. Maybe Nike says, hey, I think that soccer player right there is going to be something. We'd like to sign him to a deal now. No, it has to terminate at the end of their high school and then I guess restart. So it doesn't even feel like they're laying groundwork for the future.
I do feel like that is the only benefit, and it's only benefiting like the 4- and 5-star recruits that we're going to see. I mean, to me, it kind of sounds like the best are going to get more money at an earlier age, at least in the state of Florida. And that is just dangerous. It's dangerous for two reasons to me, because you're still trying to build up young men and women, right? To be good people.
Yeah.
I don't want to dive too far into that, but having that much money at 16, it changes you. And you're already dealing with a lot of egos on a football team, for instance. And if you're giving the top guys hundreds of thousands of dollars or 50 grand walking around that school already with their big egos, this is a monster that you are going to see get huge, and something that I don't think we're going to be able to control. And two, I am really, really scared at what they're going to be doing off the field to try and get that money. We could see more injuries. We could see more younger kids doing things that we don't want them doing, like steroids, like other enhancement drugs. There's just so much of a potential here. We're putting a lot of pressure on young kids, and I see a huge potential for it to go very haywire.
And maybe it's not fair to say, well, they're going to get paid later anyways, and because it's not
Right,
fair to who
you
they are
never
now,
know
and if you don't know who's going to get hurt or whatever.
Right,
But at the same time, a lot of these guys who may be expecting those riches now, like, those riches are waiting for them on the other side in college if they just keep their heads down and keep playing ball. So I don't want to tell them, don't go get that bag, because if you tell an individual, hey, if you perform well enough, that money's out there for you, that's a good thing, that's a good incentive. But overall, the way it affects the entire landscape of high school sports is interesting.
Right. The thing for me is, like, kids are dumb, but kids are going to do whatever they think they need to do based on their own morals, on how they want to reach whatever they want to reach. Like, if a kid thought that, hey, I can go be the next Nico Laliva, right, and get $8 million coming out of high school, but I just need to, work out this hard or quit these other sports, or even do something that they're not supposed to, like take a steroid, right? This isn't going to change whether they do that or not.
You're saying they were going to do that anyways because of what laid ahead.
You were already going to do that. And so for me, it's always going to come back to the company. It doesn't make sense to me why, as a national brand, you would invest. And I'm sure, for American Eagle, whatever figure they're giving to these kids, it's a fraction of what their true marketing value is. But it's still a decent chunk of change to kind of throw at no names and nobodies. And are these kids going to be popular enough where other high school kids go, that's the kid from Matter Day, or that's the kid from IMG, and so I'm going to go in and put money. Like, I'm 10 years removed from being one of those. Well, I'm 8 years removed from being one of those high school kids, but I'm 10 years removed from being a sophomore in high school. In my class, I knew one guy, and Evan Weaver wasn't going to make the difference between whether I wore American Eagle jeans or Aeropostale or Hollister or, whatever you want to throw out there. The only thing, and the only reason to me that this would make sense from a company standpoint, is if you are the local mom and pop shop and you've got the next 5-star kid and you're like, hey, he gets to eat on Tuesdays for free. And so maybe you get more high school kids coming in. Otherwise, as a national brand,
what are we doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it may, and I mean, there are times for college NIL, I'm like, really? That moves the needle for you
Right.
guys? Like, I don't necessarily even understand why there's so much incentive for the companies to get behind some of this. I think in some cases it's just like, well, I just really love this school that I'm an alumnus of and I want to throw money at it. So like, here, give this to some
Right.
of the kids. I mean, I honestly don't know in some cases why some of these corporations are forking over money when it feels like it's not coming back to them in that way. But this is a whole new can of worms, and I don't know if Florida's going to be the last state to do it. I don't know if we're going to see, money hungry parents flocking in droves to the state of Florida to try and get their kid paid. But we're
Baby Gronk's moving to Florida. Is that what you're telling me?
One more step towards a new frontier where everyone's getting paid for being good at sports.